Elvis and Michael Bublé, Martini in the Morning. We have a little history going on in the station back in probably January, right after we get Neal McCoy's You Don't Know Me album. We were sitting in the studio talking with Billy Vera, and Billy looked down. I had a copy of the album sitting here in the studio, and Billy looked down, and he said, I know that guy. He said, he did my song. And I forgot that Neal McCoy's first album for Atlantic Records was called... Wait.
Turn me on.
Turn me up. Huh?
Did you bring it? My man.
So what
your
first album was called?
At This Moment.
And at This Moment was the title track. It was written by...
Written by Billy Vera.
This guy.
You're right. That's the guy next to me. That's right.
I love it. This is, Billy was just in the studio a couple days ago talking about last night's show at Catalina Jazz.
Yeah.
How'd it go, by the way?
It was great, man. Oh, my sauce. He brings my sauce to me, man. I'll tell you.
Wait. People who know me might take that the wrong way about your
sauce.
No.
I'm a Pepsi man.
Yes, sir.
Pepsi, the nectar of the gods. I call it.
And you can tell it's yours because someone had already drank out of it, and I assume it was you.
No, it was not me, but I'll take it anyway.
I took a little bit off the top.
Okay. That's funny.
So you're swapping spit with Mother Miriam.
Yeah,
there you go. Can you imagine?
It could be worse. Probably has been.
And has been.
Wait. Okay. First of all, how was your show last night?
Show was great. We had Janie Bradford. Do you know who she is?
I know who she is. Don't know much about her.
She wrote Money, That's What I Want.
Right.
It was her birthday last night, so she came down with a bunch of Motown people.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we didn't get the invite. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, man. Wish I had your email at the time. And I'll tell you, but a really touching thing happened. Waiter comes over to me and he says, there's a fellow who wants to say hello to you. Hadn't seen you in 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was Joe Pesci.
Oh, wow. Joe Dogs.
And Joe said, I will never forget. He said, when I was a down and out bad boy, 40 years ago, he said, I came to a club to see you in Lodi, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he said, I told you that I sang. He said, and I made a record. I said, I have your record, dude. I have your album, man. Little Joe sure can sing.
That's his rock and roll album.
Yeah, he was like a cross between Frankie Valli and Little Jimmy Scott.
Right.
Wow.
And it was really, apparently it meant a lot to him at a time like that,
Yeah. Isn't
So
it crazy how this life works?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's
just
Joe
something
Pesci.
that you can say to somebody at a time in their life when they need that.
Encourage
And
him,
boy, he sure has passed us all, you know.
He's done very well.
Yeah.
So you guys have never met?
Never met, no.
Just now.
I loved what you did with my song, man.
Back in the
Thank you.
When did you sign with Atlantic?
Signed in 1990.
Okay.
Early 1990, yes, sir.
So in 1990, we were in a bunch of us. There were about 25, maybe 30 country programmers. We were in town at the on the nickel of Capitol Records. They had a new act they were introducing, and one of the guys from one of the Phoenix stations said, "Hey guys, this is after the event. Glenn Campbell was there. It was a big deal." And so after the event, this guy, a friend of ours, R.J. Curtis, said,
RJ, yeah.
He said, "Hey, listen, we got this new guy playing across town at a rodeo." He said, "I got a band outside. You guys want to come and see him?" And his name is Neal McCoy. Now, I was still up in Fresno. We were already playing the song called "If I Built You a Fire."
Yeah, that's our first single. Yeah. You were the only ones playing it, but I appreciate it.
But that night we went. So we go over to see Neal, and the talk in the van on the way over from these country programmers. He's more of a crooner than a country singer, and
that's probably right.
So we got over there, and the crowd was just on fire. And here's this guy up on stage putting on a show we had never seen at a country music concert before, and the crowd was crazy. And I swear to you that there were probably 30 of us, and I would say that 20 at least went back home, and Monday morning they started playing "If I Built You a Fire."
Oh man,
because
wow. Great.
You turned on so many people that night. But the song that really got the audience going was this song, title track from his debut CD on Atlantic Records. Neal McCoy with Billy Vera's song.
Wow.
What did you think I would do at this moment? Yeah.
That's Neal McCoy doing At This Moment from his debut country album on Atlantic Records.
Peter
But
Weller.
This is becoming.
Oh, wow, sorry.
It's all right. We have so much fun. We talk all the time about how much when you're here, when we start the song. I mean, we love the music, but the stories. It's like I told Al the engineer something, and I said, I can't remember whether Billy and I talked about that on the air or off the air because the conversations that we have off the air
it just keeps going, doesn't it?
That's right. Neal McCoy in the studio. Neal has done an album of and before you did country, you were doing these songs.
I was, yeah. I'm an easy listening guy. When I was growing up, I've got an older brother and an older sister, so you're subject to whatever they're listening to, whatever they have on the record player or the one channel that we get at radio. That whatever they've got it tuned into, that's what you're listening to. So they grew up listening to a lot of easy stuff, Manilow, the Carpenters, a lot of that kind of easy stuff. So I started singing and listening to that because I always fancied myself as a real singer. So it was funny. I'd started working out of junior college in some little supper clubs around East Texas, and I worked with a 75-year-old black man that used to travel with Lionel Hampton. He played keyboard in about an 80-year-old upright bass.
Is that Milt Buckner?
No, his name was Tommy Thomas.
Tommy Thomas, okay.
Yes, sir. And I worked with a 80-year-old upright bass player out of the Bronx, New York, and he was down there. And so I would go with them. I didn't know a lot of it. I'd listen to it, but I didn't know it. Didn't have to commit memory because I wasn't singing any of it. But I'd go and we'd perform about 3 hours a night, and I'd be their singer. And so they were doing, Up a Lazy River and Old Black Magic and all that stuff. And I would just sit there and listen to it, and I'd go, oh, my gosh, this is such great stuff. And they would just sing it and play it, and I just kind of hum along until I learned it. And so that's when I started doing all the standards and stuff. And, man, it's been my passion forever. So this album that I just recently got to put out is a bucket list album.
How do
you know me?
How do you? I mean, this. I told Miriam. I mean, and this isn't about me, but I have to tell you, the two guys that probably have worked with the most in the music business are you and Steve Tyrell, and different parts of my life and my career. For 10 years of my career, I spent in country music, and I met Neal early in that time. Probably right before we went to Dallas, we met, and then we went to Dallas, and I programmed a radio station there, and I got to know Neal a little better, and then I ended up working for Neal's management company for a very short time. But in fact, it's funny. Neal's wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt.
America's team.
The last time I saw,
I don't know why, but we still are.
The last time I saw Neal perform, I was standing next to Troy Aikman in Fort Payne, Alabama. At
June Jam.
At June Jam, and you were on stage. I was standing next to Troy, who had worked at the radio station, who was doing the thing on the station. But we were all Neal McCoy fans. That's why we were there.
Wow, what a small world.
And now, so I come to L.A. and we're trying to figure out what to do with this radio station across town, and my wife was.
Did you figure it out?
No, but my wife, I go home on the weekend back to Boise, and my wife was listening to this like R&B singer that was doing standards, and I said, who is that? She said, oh, that's Steve Tyrell. I discovered him from Martha Stewart, and she played him in her antique store. And so I called Steve up and I said, we got an idea for this radio station, and I ran this idea by him, and I said, I want you to be the voice guy. And we met, and so fast forward, Steve and I have known each other that was 2002, so 14 years.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I'm sitting in Boise at a Starbucks over the holidays, and a listener, a guy up in Madison, Wisconsin, Peter Lang, sends me a note, and he said, do you know anything about this? It was a picture of the album You Don't Know Me, and it says produced by Steve Tyrell. I said, do I know him? So I text Steve, and I text Steve and John Allen, and I said, you did an album with my favorite Texapino?
That's right. The only full-blooded one.
And they said What's a Texapino?
Yeah.
Wasn't that what you called
It was, yeah. My father's from Texas, my mother from the Philippines. So yeah, I claim my claim to fame, and still probably am the only Texapino or full-blooded one in country music anyway.
So Neal McCoy has a brand new album out, produced by Steve Tyrell, called "You Don't Know Me," and this
Pick
is
some good songs too, man.
the
Yeah,
title
thanks.
track. Neal McCoy at MartiniInTheMorning.com. Song co-written by Eddie Arnold, Neal McCoy. You Don't Know Me, the title track from his first album, doing this kind of music.
Yeah, hopefully not last, but you never know. Unless your wonderful listeners don't buy it, then it will be the first and only time.
Well, if they don't buy this, they're fools, man.
You
'cause
tell
it's
them
good.
Neal has said about 10 times since he's been here, you sound just like Steve Tyrell
He-
to Billy.
He does. He sounds a lot like
We must
Steve
have gone
Tyrell.
to different schools together, you know.
I told Billy the story before when I was introducing Steve one night on stage, and we'd just gone on the air, and Steve was doing our voice stuff. And it was funny the reaction we had from listeners. We had people call us and say, "Is that Billy Vera?" And I had just met Billy not long before that, so I kind of got that, and
Yeah.
I'd heard Billy doing voiceovers, doing TV commercials. But then I was sitting there, and somebody called the station and said, "Is that Lou Rawls doing the voice stuff?" So I mentioned that on stage, and I'm sitting there at the club, and Steve's on stage, and I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I turn around, and there's Lou Rawls, and he said, "People think he sounds like me? Come on." Yeah. But yeah, you and Steve.
Well, you know, when Steve's first Standards album came out, my phone starts ringing. I said, "Man, you finally made that Standards album you'd been talking about all these years." I said, "What? What are you talking about?" Because I hadn't heard Steve's record, you know, and said, "Yeah, people that knew me for 30 years thought it was me." And I said, "What? No." And I was not mad at Steve. I was mad at myself
For not doing it.
for not doing it for 20 years.
It was funny, and then when we did a show at Vitello's 2 years ago, and
Has it been that long?
it's been 2 years.
Wow.
We shot a TV pilot there, and Steve came and played, and Billy was in the audience, and Steve saw Billy out there. In fact, actually, earlier in the show, even more coincidence, one of the other singers, a woman from Miami named Nicole Henry, she did at this moment in the show.
Wow.
So we'd already had that moment, and then so we're wrapping up the show, and this is a TV thing, and we were doing a live feed, and we were taping it, and we had a script, so I'm up there to close the show, and Steve gets a wild hair. He's looking out in the corner, and he sees Billy Vera sitting there, and he said, "Billy, come up here." So he brought Billy up on stage, and they did
Stand By Me.
Me together.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was talk about that was a special time.
It was fun, man.
And Aubrey
Yeah.
Logan, who was on that show, who's a wonderful young singer that Pat Boone has nurtured. Aubrey was in the studio maybe 3 or 4 weeks before that, and the song at the end of the interview, when we were done with Aubrey, was Billy's "When It's Sleepy Time Down South."
Oh.
And she said,
Oh, wow.
Does Steve Tyrell have a new album out?"
You know, Steve keeps threatening to put me on. He's talking about doing a Ray Charles.
Right.
Oh yeah, boy, you'd be great on
And
that.
he wants me to do a duet with him on. I think
Busted.
we're talking about Busted
Yeah.
or one of those.
He
Yeah.
told me Busted.
Wow.
I can hear you and Steve doing that.
We have some. We'll have some fun with that. Man.
Yeah.
So I started to ask the question: How did you and Steve connect?
It comes through a guy named Don Sanders out of Houston, Texas. I've known him a long time. He's real good friends with Nolan Ryan, and Don has been following me. I played his 60th birthday party in Scottsdale. Then I played his 70th birthday party, and we're fixing to play his 80th birthday party in July. And he knows my passion for this kind of music and has for a long, long time. And we got talking about it. We played a little place called Do-Si Do's in Houston. It's a great, great place. One of the best places. It could be my favorite venue. Holds about maybe 250 people. They serve dinner. It's just real intimate. And so we were doing some stuff like this already. The band and I just worked up some things to play. And Don was there that night, and he came out to the bus and said, he said, "I always hear you. I know you love this music, and I know you sneak it in your shows every once in a while." He said, "What would what would the cost be of doing one of these albums? I said, I don't know, Don. I said, I have no idea. I said, I know what it costs to make country music, but I don't know. And I said, but if you're interested in us talking about it, I'd love to talk to you. Well, anyway, he says, okay, let's do it. We get him some price. He said, let's do it. He said, now who are we going to have produce it? I said, well, I don't know. And he said, well, I know a guy named Steve Tyrell. I come see him every time he's in Houston.
The Houston boy.
Yeah, that's right. No, the Houston boy. And he said, I guess and they talk about restaurants when they get together. They talk about all the restaurants in Houston. But he said, I know a guy named Steve Tyrell. I said, would he be interested? And I know Steve didn't know me at the time. So Don reaches out to Steve, and I'm sure this is how the conversation went. Hey, Steve, I've got and Don is so old school. He said, I'm sure he said probably, I've got a country and western guy that I want to record an album on, of standard stuff. Yeah. And Steve said, man, he said, I'm busy right now. Let me get back to you. And because he had just released an album, so he was out promoting that and all that. And he finally got through with that and called Don back and said, have you got anything I can listen to? And I did just a little bit of a PBS special that never came out with Les Brown Jr. and the Band of Renown. And we sent that to him, and he called back and he said, now what's this guy's name? And he said, Neal McCoy. He said, man, can y'all fly out to L.A.? We went out and flew out to L.A., and Bob Mann was there. And Bob said, what songs of this era do you know? I said, I don't know. You play it, and I'll sing it. And he said, well, like what? And I said, I don't know. Just play something. And he played it, and I sang it, and he was just like, what else you know? I said, I don't know. Play something else. and we went through about 3 songs, and they said, oh, my gosh, you not only know it, you understand it. Right. I said, yes, sir. I said, I'm sure Don didn't probably do a very good job of portraying me, but and I'm not just a country western singer. I said, I really love this stuff. And we went through some stuff, and they said, and Steve said, yeah, wow, let's work. Let's get you in.
That's great.
Yeah, man. So that's how, and then the rest is history, as they say.
As they say.
Well, that's a great song.
The album is called You Don't Know Me, Neal McCoy. A Martini in the Morning. All my tomorrows belong to you. On martiniinthemorning.com. martiniinthemorning.com. His name is Neal McCoy.
Yes. Isn't he good? That's what you're supposed to follow that with, Brad.
I've heard that.
I've been working.
Neal McCoy, he's a bad boy.
You know what's funny? I met Neal probably in 1990 or thereabouts. I think I met you before the Atlantic album came out. But the funny thing is, this is the first time I've ever interviewed you because I was an off-the-air program director, and the guys that worked for me would do the interviews, and so this is a real thrill. Let's see. Oh, my wife sent me a note. My wife said, say hi.
Oh, tell your wife I said howdy. I remember her.
Yeah, Neal and Melinda.
That's right. Yeah.
I've been married for how long?
Almost 36 years.
Whoa, man.
You're telling me. I told her the other day, I said, you keep it up, I'm going to take my 20% and get out. It didn't scare her.
No.
So you're still doing it. You're still playing all over doing country shows. I look at your
yes, sir.
Your schedule. You're playing a lot.
We are, yeah.
How many dates a year are you doing?
We'll do 100 shows, and that's usually just from right now to the end of the year. We got about 75 shows. So springtime's always a little slow, but man, we hammer. And I'm glad we do. And it's our reputation of putting on a great show every night and being nice to people.
You do an amazing show. That rodeo that in Phoenix. I remember there were some jaded country guys there who went there wanting not to like you, and they were talking on the way over. He's a crooner. He's not a real country singer. Well,
wow, what a compliment!
They got a real but they got a real country show, and that audience was having a blast. I mean, that was a wild night.
Yeah, good.
It was fun. Neal McCoy on martiniinthemorning.com. The album is called You Don't Know Me. Mother Miriam was just asking, when you do your regular country shows, do you get a chance to stretch and do some of this?
We do, and it's all time. And I don't have a set list. I've never worked with a set list in 30 years, so I just feel them out, and when I think it's right, I'll just say, hey, this is something new that we've done. I've been passionate for it all my life, and we start into it. We don't harp on it a lot, and then we just let the song speak for itself. And it usually does. Even the people that don't, your basic country layperson that is not familiar with it, once they get a chance to hear it and hear the lyric and they don't understand a lot of the chord changes in it, but once they hear the lyric, it's really pretty simple stuff. I mean, you know that, and there's some really challenging lyrics in some of it, but some of it, like one that's on the album that my mother used to sing to me as a kid, is "Kiss me once, then kiss me twice, and kiss me once again." Yeah, how
World
simple
War
was
II.
that? Yeah, like from Coming Home. You
Yes,
know, I've been
Coming
gone.
Home, yeah.
And how simple was that lyric? And
That was Les Brown
the band of Renown, I think they did have
with Kitty Callan.
Oh, is that
sang
right?
the lead on that.
Neal
Wow, listen to
McCoy,
that.
Kiss Me Once, Kiss
Great
Me
song.
Twice.
On Martini in the Morning. It's been a long, long time.
It has.
Kiss me once, then kiss me twice.
Martini in the Morning, Neal McCoy, the song that his mother sang to him when he was a wee Texapino.
Yeah, and every once in a while, I've got a 4-year-old grandson and a 1-year-old. I sing it to them every once in a while. So
Really?
it's passing from generation to
Yeah,
generation.
it's
man.
funny. My
Good one.
grandkids won't
Yeah.
let me sing to them.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Wise children, I say.
This is like history. I mean, having you on stage that night with Steve, that was history. There are moments that you can't make.
They
them
just happen.
They just
That's right.
happen. You can't make them happen. I told Miriam one of the great moments in my career years ago, and in fact, you were there. You weren't involved in it, but across the room, we were in Nashville doing it was Country Music Week, leading up to the CMA Awards, and we were broadcasting in the morning from the Opry Museum, and in the afternoon we were broadcasting from downtown at Union Station. And you know how you guys, the artists, used to come and do interviews with all the
Sure.
radio stations. We were all assembled, so we were all in the same room, and we've been unveiling. We did the world premiere of the Country Music Eagles tribute, and we've been unveiling that all day on the radio. And that afternoon, our afternoon lady, Beth Wilson, was interviewing Trisha Yearwood, and we were playing the song that she did from this Eagles project. And Trisha had never heard the song. And Trisha, so she was listening to it on the air, and she said, "You think that's good? I just did an AIDS project. I just did a duet with Aaron Neville. We did Patsy
wow.
Cline's I Fall to Pieces." And I see Aaron Neville across the room. I went over and I grabbed him, and I brought him over, and they sang a cappella on the air. They sang
Wow.
I Fall to Pieces. And Ken Cragen, her manager,
yeah.
was sitting there crying because that's what, I mean, that's one of those moments. You just can't make it happen. No. This is one of those moments.
That's just
Well,
music.
I'm so glad you asked me to come in to meet Neal.
I'm so excited you
know.
came in.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't have missed it.
It was so funny. I told Neal when he got here, the album's sitting right here. Billy was sitting right there, and Billy looked and he said, "I know that guy." And
He doesn't look like that.
He said, "I've never met him, but I know who he is. He did my song." And it didn't dawn on me until that you had done at this moment. And I thought, this is one of those where worlds collide.
Yeah,
Billy
yeah.
Vera and Neal McCoy in the same studio. They've Neal's
You know what
first
my
album-
real name is?
What is it?
McCord.
Oh, is that right?
That's
Yeah.
right. I forget that.
A little bit. My dad was a radio announcer, Bill McCord speaking.
Out of where?
Out of New York. He was on NBC in New York, and he used to do some of the quiz shows, too.
Yeah.
And so Jack Barry, would say, "And now, Bill McCord, who's our next guest?" "Well, Jack, our next guest is a housewife from New Jersey, behind door 3. He was one of those guys.
When I signed with Atlantic Records, at my first record deal.
That was my first record deal.
Oh, is that right?
Atlantic Records, yeah.
Records.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
Well, when I signed with them, Rick Blackburn was the head of the label. They just started up Atlantic Nashville, the country,
Yeah, I remember.
side of it, and he
Had Willie and you and Willie did 2 albums on Atlantic.
He did.
Nashville.
I think he was there a little before I was.
Yes.
And I signed with them, and they said, "Well, what kind of music do you see yourself singing?" And I fought for at this moment. I said, "Well, I don't know." I
nice.
said, "I don't know what y'all want me to sing, but I would love to have At This Moment on there." And
Well,
like
you
it
did a
sort
hell of a
became
job, my
song.
friend.
Yeah, the album title, and it was really good. I wish we could come with it as a single, but probably wouldn't have fit then. It was,
Yeah, well, it was 1990. That was plenty of time after after my version.
Yeah.
Because your version, what year was your version a hit?
It started at the end of '86, and then it hit number one in
Thank you, Michael
January.
J. Fox.
Thank you, Michael J. Fox. Yeah,
That's
buddy.
right. The album is called "You Don't Know Me." Neal McCoy at MartiniInTheMorning.com.
My story is much too sad to be told. Yes, I get a kick out of you.
From the album "You Don't Know Me," Neal McCoy on MartiniInTheMorning.com. I get a kick out of you. Who chose the songs? Was it you? Was it Steve? Was it?
It was a combination of Don Sanders and me and Steve, and you know, everybody brought something to the table. Like Billy and I were talking about the All My Tomorrows. I wasn't that familiar with the song when Don brought it up in our initial conversation about songs, and when he said it, Steve looked at me, and Steve wasn't familiar with it either.
Really?
We just looked at each other like, let's hear it. And he put it on, and I think it may have been that Sinatra version. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so slow and so.
It's even though the lyrics are actually pretty positive, pretty happy. It sounds, because of the tempo, it sounds kind of sad.
Yeah, and it starts, you know, it's a sad that the first lyric, today I may not have a thing at
true.
all
Yeah,
except for just a dream. So it doesn't have anything. It eventually gets into being a positive song, but he played it, and I looked at Steve, and Steve said, oh, and Bob Mann was in there on the initial thing, and Bob just kind of started chunking, you know, a couple of things, and I said, that's much better already.
Yeah, you guys added some tempo that song's never had before.
Yeah, and it flows good. So, but between Don and Steve and I, we came up with the 13 songs. Don's lucky number, he said, is 13. I thought, okay.
Did
you
you want to pay all them for publishers?
That's right.
Did you start at a higher number and pare down? Did you add songs to get to 13?
God, we went through a whole bunch, but no, we were initially starting, and because Don had never done it. I was trying to encourage him, you know, stick to 10 or 11 to save on
Publishing
and stuff like that. And he said, well, my favorite number's 13. And I said, okay. Sometimes just shut up and say okay.
Yeah,
you know how it is, Billy.
Well, I know very well how it is. Yeah.
The album is called "You Don't Know Me." Neal McCoy on MartiniInTheMorning.com.
Boy, this is a good one too.
I love this. I love the guitar on it.
Yeah.
You hear it?
I've grown accustomed to her face.
MartiniInTheMorning.com from his album "You Don't Know Me." Neal McCoy with a beautiful guitar solo from Bob Mann, who you've heard. Bob, we've not had Bob in the studio, but you've heard it before because he plays with Steve Tyrell all the time. I sent Steve a text. I said, "Are your ears burning?" Steve's probably not up this early, but you know, Steve has been such a part of the station. I remember. Steve has influenced the music that we play. He taught me a lot. Steve had just learned about this music, really. I mean, he had done a lot of stuff, but you know, this wasn't his background.
No, it's not.
His background was working with Burt Bacharach and working with you know, some of the artists in New York that
B.J. Thomas.
Yeah, a lot of time with B.J. Thomas. So Steve had learned this music, really immersed himself in it, and he taught me. I tell people often that I went to the school of Steve because I knew country music, I knew pop, and I really didn't know this music that well, and I learned a lot about it from Steve, and then for it to come full circle, to end up working with a guy that you know, I watched your career. I mean, how you blossomed into the early and mid '90s. I mean, you had some real fun in country music.
We did. We were pretty fortunate. We struggled just like most artists do. After when I first signed with Atlantic Records in '90, we released 7 singles and 2 albums, and I mean I was over $1 million in the hole, and because you're doing videos and everything, and on the 3rd, Rick Blackburn, again the head of the label, called me in. He called me Cowboy. He said, "Cowboy, can you come in?" I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I know, Mr. Rick. I know what's going on. I know you're fixing to cut me, and I get it. I don't blame you. We've been through a bunch of singles and stuff, and we hadn't had any luck with anything, you know. I think got one on top 40." And he said, "No." And at the time we were working, you know, just like all these old road dogs. We're still on the road 300 days a year, working 200 something shows. And he said, "No." He said, I can't let somebody go that works as hard as you do. And he said, and you do all the things right. He said, for some reason, he said, radio really likes you. They just don't think, we just haven't given them the right record yet. So he said, I'm going to go another album. Well, I just thought, oh, my gosh, you got, I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. He said, we're changing producers. We changed to Barry Beckett, Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
That's my old friend from Muscle Shoals, man.
Well, Barry, we had been through a couple of different producers, and Barry got me, and we changed our whole way of thinking. We started listening to music stuff, and anything, all the hits I did was with Barry Beckett producing, and we started and released the album, No Doubt About It, in '93, and that was the first single off the album, and it started climbing, and it went first #1 song, and that was a big deal. That Rick and then we released Wink behind that, a real fun song, and it went #1 in 9 weeks. So that was the way things go. Now 9 weeks, you don't even. Well, you're not even. Nobody even knows you yet.
Yeah.
And so, and then we went on a pretty good run of some pretty.
Well,
good stuff.
you were the one on Atlantic Country that did it, because they, generally speaking, Atlantic had a big failure with their country label.
They really, they really struggled.
Yeah.
You had a good run for them.
I did, yeah, and right when we were starting to hit, they'd signed another couple of guys that ended up doing well, Tracy Lawrence and John Michael Montgomery.
Right.
And John Michael had some big hits, but he just didn't want to do what it took to be an artist, really.
You mean work?
Oh, yeah.
That.
Yeah. Oh, there's that.
MartiniInTheMorning.com. Neal McCoy has been performing for a long time. He had a great, still has a great country career. But before, and you were talking about, before the records, before the recording deal and all that, you were singing these songs to people around your part of Texas, including your wife. Like that last song we played, I've Grown Accustomed to Your Face. That song back then was a song you would dedicate to your wife.
It is, yeah, and probably, hopefully, maybe thinking that the lyric really would be true, because I've grown accustomed to her face. She almost makes a day begin. And then and that was when we were just newly married. And now, almost 36 years later, the song does ring true, because you do know each other and you're used to each other.
That's something special about these lyrics, and actually, that's for me. That's why the transition from country to this was so easy, because it's really about the lyrics. It's about these lyrics that touch people's hearts and that find a way into your life and they mean something different to everybody. I've had like songs like What a Wonderful World. I've had friends who use that in their wedding and friends who use that in a funeral.
Right, exactly.
It just depends on where you are in life.
Yeah.
The song just touches you a certain way. Neal McCoy, the album is called You Don't Know Me, and he's on MartiniInTheMorning.com.
That's all. That's all.
MartiniInTheMorning.com. Neal McCoy. The album is called You Don't Know Me. So I sent Steve Tyrell, probably woke him up with a text message, because Steve doesn't know that there are two 9 o'clocks. He only knows about 9 p.m. He doesn't know about 9 a.m. But anyway, I sent Steve a picture of Billy and Neal McCoy sitting here in the studio. Steve wrote back and he said, well, that's my wife. Let's see.
Well, we don't want to hear what she said.
She said, where's Steve? Oh, Steve said, those are two of the greatest soul brothers on the planet.
Hey, Stevie, boy.
Isn't he sweet?
Stevie been playing my record on his show, too.
That's right.
Although Brad was first.
You guys were just talking. Billy, what Billy's done with his big band jazz album is he's sort of broadened the genre. You introduced or reintroduced some songs that hadn't been played in a long time.
Yeah, well, I figured if I'm going to make a big band album, I got to find a way to make it different than everybody else's.
Yeah,
right.
And somebody said, well, what do you know better than anybody? And he said, you know black music. So I said, oh yeah, all these great black songwriters: Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Buddy Johnson, James P. Johnson, these guys from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. I said, I'm just going to do a tribute to those black songwriters, and that's what I've done. So. Well, that seems to be working
Billy
so far.
Vera, Big Band Jazz, great album, and Billy has. I love having Billy come in here to the station because I tell
Because he
people,
doesn't have to talk so much.
yeah, but on top of that, I learned so much about music in general. Billy has this like rich history, not only as a singer, but like Steve, as a producer and a songwriter, and so we're really fortunate. And this is fun.
Oh, man,
both
I'm
you
so
guys
happy
think.
you asked me to come here today.
I asked you.
I meant you.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
talking to you.
Okay.
I was just talking to you out of the side of my face.
Right, I see that. Okay.
Neal McCoy in the studio, Billy Vera in the studio as well. And if you missed the first part of the conversation, I'm actually trying on Facebook. I'm trying to go to our the Martini in the Morning page. I'd have Mother Miriam do it, but she'd get lost.
I'm sorry, I what?
Yeah.
I would get what?
Lost.
LOST.
I think he said, yeah.
Lost.
There's no confidence.
Yeah, he didn't. He just couldn't. He didn't know that. You know that.
This is his thing. I would ask you. But
Wait,
if I could
grab
ask
the
you-
microphone.
Yeah,
He's
grab
not
the
a believer.
microphone and ask
He
me.
would say, I would ask you to do this. However, if I have to explain it to you, I can do it myself. But he never does it himself. That's the problem.
All right, play nice, kids. Play nice.
Yeah, go back to your iPhone 3. Mother Miriam.
Very much.
We were so my wife suggested this is the time we should have done that Facebook Live thing.
Yes,
I'll
it
figure
is.
that during the next song. We'll do a quick a little something on the on Don, unless you're in a hurry. You have a dentist appointment or a
Bar mitzvah to go
bar
to.
mitzvah?
Or a
That's
bris.
an insult.
We got the scissors right here. We can take very good care of that.
That's great.
The album is called You Don't Know Me, Neal McCoy. I've known this guy for a long time. He's a great performer, and he's a great singer, and it really shines on this album. It's called You Don't Know Me, You Unforgettable You on martiniinthemorning.com.
Unforgettable too.
Martini in the Morning. This is an unforgettable moment with Neal McCoy.
Yes,
and,
it is.
And you guys had never met. You did his song
Just that big a fan of his. 26 years ago, recorded it. It was. It made
Back
the
when
first
he was
album
in,
title.
he recorded it in utero. He was so young.
I wish that was
Neal,
true.
Neal, what?
What did he say, uterus?
No, I said he recorded it in
Mother Mary?
utero. That's Latin, baby.
Turn up
I
your
went to
hearing
Catholic
aid.
school, man. I know my Latin.
Yeah, that uterus is a whole other discussion.
another story.
That's off the air.
It's martiniinthemorning.com. We've officially lost control. Don Graham, Don Graham, has been promoting records since. When Don started out in the promotion business, they were on stone tablets. That's how long. Some of us go back to the vinyl days. Don goes back to the Stone Age. It's
Don recorded Gene Austin in 1927, My Blue Heaven. I believe that was your first hit.
Don is working with Neal and brought him into the studio and
doing a heck of a job too.
Mother Miriam brings up a good point though. And
She does?
If I was not very
About
often,
time.
but occasionally, but if I were still doing country radio, I mean, Neal McCoy was a big name, had a huge name in country, and if I had an opportunity to play a song like "You Don't Know Me," and it's a perfect song because it started out as a country song. Eddie Arnold had the first hit with it.
And wrote it. Shoot.
Yeah, and I mean, I would play if I had an opportunity to broaden my playlist and play a song like that by Neal McCoy. I would do it. And
Well, I wish you had that. I wish you could.
We should also mention the co-writer of that song, the great Cindy Walker,
Cindy Walker.
who was one of the great country songwriters of all time.
Really?
She was, yeah.
I
Cindy
really
Walker?
don't know much about
Google
her.
a bit. Google the
Oh
lady.
yeah, she's written a lot of.
She was a monster, man. She wrote Roy Orbison,
Pretty Woman.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Hey Neal, when you sat down to do this, we played a number of songs on the album, and again, this is produced by Steve Tyrell, and Neal worked with Steve and his team, with Bob Mann, with John Allen,
Alan
and
Broadbent and that crew.
a bunch of great guys. But when you guys sat down to do this, was there a song, like you said, when you went to Atlantic Records, when you signed your country deal, you wanted to do Billy's song, and you fought for that. Was there a song in this collection that stood out to you as like, I got to do this?
I really wanted to do I've grown accustomed to her face because of my wife and I's relationship. And that I used to sing it to her when we were really almost still dating. And then I wanted to do A Long, Long Time for my mother, who's 87, and you never know, when when the last time she'll be able to hear that. So I wanted to get that in there for her.
That's fun. So
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
songs that have a meaning, a connection to some other part of your life. What about your kids and your grandkids? How do they feel about this project?
They love it. My son and my daughter. My daughter's 30 and my son's 22. Our son and daughter, and they've been the biggest Neal McCoy fans I think ever.
I remember your son.
They support us.
Your son, I think, was born back when I knew you.
You know, that's probably right. He's born in
Suede.
'94. Suede, that's right.
I remember that
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah, and now he's studying. He's probably going to end up out here in L.A. He just graduated from Sam Houston, but he's got his theater degree, but studying to be an actor. He's even got his first role in a movie that's being filmed over in East Texas right now.
man,
Really?
that's good.
Yeah, so you may see him out here.
Very exciting.
He may be knocking on your door for free food or water or something, so let him in.
Wrong place. We don't have any either.
Okay.
We don't have either.
I'll send him to Billy's place. I know he's got plenty.
We're
Give him a Pepsi.
I think Les and I have to. This is so unusual in this business. When I met Neal back in the '90s, he was working with a fabulous road manager, and I got to know him better when I worked for Neal's management company, Les Martinez. It was funny when I first heard about this album that you had done this. First thing I wondered was whether Les was still with you, and Big Les walks in the door.
Turn the camera around, Les. Show your mug. Show your pretty face.
Not only that, but when I first heard about the album, the other thing that struck me, I started looking into it, and I texted Steve and John Allen to ask about the album. But I looked on your website and I looked on Facebook, and I saw that I think your wife and your daughter both are working with you.
Yeah, they're involved, and my wife is vice president of our company, Neal McCoy Enterprises. Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate that I've got a great family and a great daughter and great son, and now 2 wonderful grandchildren who are not doing anything yet but just raising Cain, but that's okay. That's what they're supposed to do. I'm sure they'll turn into something once they get over 6 or 7.
So once you stop paying the bills, you'd be surprised what they'll do.
Someone by the name of Billy Joe Harder said.
Oh,
by
Billy
the
Joe!
way-
My gosh, remember Billy Joe from?
the phone
I'm
just
try-
dropped in.
My phone died.
She said, what did it
No,
I
Billy Joe.
forgot what you
Billy
said.
Joe Harder. Billy was he as a he.
She said that Bill Dees co-wrote "Pretty Woman."
Oh,
Bill Dees co-wrote a lot of Roy's Orbison songs. See,
So
that's why we got to have Google with us on all the time.
That's right.
Just to check us up.
We're trying to do the Facebook
just
Live.
saying stuff that don't even make sense. Somebody listening to knows
Yeah.
are going, those are
That's what-
idiots.
who are those fools up there?
if memory
Drunk
serves
this
me,
early in the morning.
Billy Joe Harder, I think is a guy. Maybe I'm getting it.
It's a woman with a name like Billy Joe.
Remember
Billy Joe Shaver
There was
was
a
the guy.
Stockyards.
But she spelled it I-E.
oh, there was
yeah.
IE, so it's not the first time.
Oh, she's from South Louisiana.
You're thinking of Billy Joe Softer. That was the one.
That was the woman.
Neal McCoy. The album is called "You Don't Know Me." We tried to do a Facebook Live thing. My phone died. Les is moving on. We're live with Les on Martini in the Morning.
Live
We're
with
doing
Les.
Les with more. More with Les.
It had to be you.
Martini in the Morning. The album is called "You Don't Know Me." We've run over our time limit. Neal McCoy is going to start charging us now.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be you from the album "You Don't Know Me." We were doing a Facebook Live. My wife suggested that we ask you to share the video. We have a number of people, Neal, that
Uh-oh.
let's see.
Uh-oh.
Janice Harmon in San Rafael, California says, "Great interview with great talents, Billy, Vera, and Neal McCoy. Love hearing all the great stories." Jay Nichols in Omega Bay, Texas, near Galveston, says, "Thanks for bringing Neal in and introducing us to his music. Just the right blend of standards with a pinch of country. Great voice. Thanks to Billy for stopping in and adding a little spice in the conversation."
They like us. They really, really like us.
Debs Girton in Lindenwood, Washington, near Seattle. They used to live in Sugar Land, Texas.
Oh, wow.
She said, enjoying the conversation with.
No, I don't think I'm ready.
Enjoying the conversation with Neal McCoy and Steve Tyrell.
I can believe it.
I have seen Chuck and I have seen Steve several times while we were in Houston area and now in Seattle at Jazz Alley. Enjoying Neal and his music very much. There's another CD I need to go and get. Thanks to Martini in the Morning for all you do for music and the artists.
You see, Steve? You're here even though you don't know you're here.
Steve's laying in bed.
He's in there in his pajamas, man, laying there,
Getting all the credit.
drinking his orange juice.
And then from Brenda Tierney in Middleton, Cork, Ireland says,
Oh, wow.
I saw Neal in Connolly Hall, Cork City in around 1988. He was opening
Pride.
act for Charlie Pride.
That's right.
At
Wow.
last, country and martini style music are mixed in a very pleasing cocktail, my two favorite types of music. Greetings from the sunny south of Ireland. Best of luck with the album. Neal sounds
Thanks.
great.
Oh, that's nice.
That's sweet. Yeah, I was over there with Charlie Pride.
That's how you started out, right?
It is. I won a contest in Dallas, Texas, 1981, and Janie Fricke was a judge of the finals, and she was being handled and booked by Charlie Pride's booking management agency out of Dallas, and she heard me that night and said, I want to introduce you to a guy that has helped people like Earl Thomas Conley, Ronnie Millsap, a lot of those people get started. His name's Charlie Pride. I said, oh, my gosh, I'd be honored to meet him. So I came up 2 weeks later, and I met Charlie and my wife, and I sat down with him and his wife, and he took me under his wing, let me open shows with him all over the country, every province of Canada and all over the world for about 5 years, and just gave me the opportunity to get out there, use his band. I didn't have a band, and I'd play 15 or 20 minutes and just let me hone my chops, if you will, and get out and do it, get my feet wet.
How generous of
oh
him
my
to
gosh.
do that, man.
Yeah, that's old school. That's how they.
That's old school
They
is
used to
right.
help.
Yep.
You know, now we don't help nobody.
No.
Shit, get out of here,
we
kid.
don't even get to meet anybody
That's right.
now.
That's right. Yeah, when you get old school, nobody cares.
Billy, Vera, thank you for stopping by. Neal,
My pleasure.
Congratulations on the album. It's so much fun, and I'm thrilled that you're working with our old friend Steve Tyrell and with his crew. But the album is lots of fun, and we'd love to. It would be fun to get you like to Catalina or
Well,
Vitello's.
we'd love to come if it makes sense for them and us at a time. We'd love to keep us in mind and put our good word in. And I've got Billy Vera's cell number, and we'll give out too in just a minute.
I think most of the girls in town have it already.
I'm afraid. Oh man, you cold. That's a cold shot, brother.
Girls be calling and say, "Oh no, that's his old number. You want his new one?"
Oh boy.
The stuff dreams are made of. Neal McCoy. The album is called "You Don't Know Me." Neal, thank you.
All right, Brad. Thank you. Good seeing you.
It's been way too long.
Yes, sir.
Neal McCoy at martiniinthemorning.com.